All right, everyone, welcome in to episode 2 of DadTails, 2.9 million bets. Pete, how are you?
Ryan, I'm good.
Good. Well, thanks everyone for being here, listening. Hopefully you are here because you subscribe to our channel or follow us on social media, and you've been waiting with bated breath for episode 2. So here we are. How are you, Pete? You good?
I'm good, and I hope by episode 2 you meant the first video episode.
The first video episode? Yep.
Not to, wipe the egg off the face right away. But, episode 1, great audio quality, tremendous post-production cuts.
Great content.
Video, just wasn't our thing. And candidly, guys, setup wasn't that strong either. I don't think we had quite the peripherals that we do today.
Accoutrement.
The accoutrement, and I don't know what that word means. I assume it's a fancier word for peripherals. And that's fine. You can out-vocab me for this segment. But enough with all that. We're here. We're excited to be here.
We're your hosts with the most. We're ready to go.
Oh, don't say that again. That's so cheesy.
Okay.
Oh, it's gross. What are we drinking this week?
We are drinking the mint julep. What do you think, first of all, before we get into the cocktail?
It's not my first mint julep. I'm remembering why I don't seek them out, but it's a little different. Definitely a good summertime drink. But yeah, it's fine. It's fine.
Okay. Well, it started in the actually in the 1800s in the American South. It was kind of a medicinal cocktail that was almost drank in the morning as sort of this medicinal purpose. Which, I guess anything that's got bourbon in it could have a little bit of medicinal value.
You're telling me that Southerners found a way to drink more bourbon and earlier in the day?
Shocker, I know. But its claim to fame is the Kentucky Derby, and they serve 125,000 of these every year at the Kentucky Derby.
Wow,
which is crazy to think about, and it is a great drink. It's popular. Not everyone's sort of exact cup of tea, but a good drink. And to make it, you do 2 ounces of bourbon, a half an ounce of simple syrup, and 8 sprigs of mint. No more, no less. 8. Muddle those sprigs up, put the rest in, lots of crushed ice, and you have yourself a mint julep. Just like if you plant a sprig of mint in the spring, they say you will be a gardener by, the fall?
It's mint math is what they call it,
yeah,
right?
Okay.
Because mint grows like a weed throughout the course of the year, and it takes over an entire garden. It's interesting you bring that analogy up because our parable this week is the mustard seed. Matthew 13, 31 to 32 talks about the smallest seed in the farmer's hand. And when you look at it, it looks like nothing. It's just a speck of dust. But planted, nurtured, and given time and patience will grow into the biggest, most dominant shrub in all of the garden, and birds will come to nest in it first because it is hardy and brings them nourishment. And I think the lesson there is, God's growth curve compounds. It's something that requires patience. It requires tedious work, consistent, tedious work. And nothing starts big. It all starts very small, quite like our subscriber list. Shameless plug, #subscribe at DadTails, wherever you social. So I think there's lessons to be had there. I know that there's virtues I grapple with when it comes to this, but tell me your thoughts on this one, Ryan.
Yeah, this is really good, and I think that it is something, like you said, that everyone grapples with. And what's interesting is I love that you bring up the starting small thing. Everything that we plant starts small, and whether that's our children, watching them grow up, right? Whether that's this podcast, and I was reflecting on this parable, and there's a saint in the Catholic Church, Saint Archbishop Oscar Romero. And one of the things that he says is like the kingdom is always beyond us. And he talks about watering the seeds, planting the seeds and then watering them, and how sort of this, even passing on the faith to our children, passing on the faith, kind of from generation to generation. It's one of those things where you never really see the full fruit of it, right? You plant it, you water it, you do the best you can. And over time that grows and compounds. And like, if you think about even like the faith we got from our parents, who got from their grandparents, like think about, 2 or 3 generations back, and how over the course of time that's been passed on. I think that is super, unique. Right. And it's so hard because whenever we all want this sort of that compound growth, right? We all want to see sort of the fruit of our labor.
Yeah. Give me the tree. Don't give me the seed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I just think it's one of those things that in life, if you stick with it, little by little, there's a French proverb, little by little, the bird builds its nest. And I think that's what I take from this. And I think whatever you're doing, kind of start small, but I don't know I know you kind of talked about it a little bit, but what do you think?
I think I get labeled as, impulsive, quite frequently by mutual friends of ours, who will remain unnamed. And patience isn't exactly something that's, is referenced with me in having in the same sentence. And I got to tell you, there's times I just, I'm willing to put my nose down and grind and go for it, whether it's in work or life or, I think, one example, my oldest is taking up competitive swimming, and that was my sport.
Yeah.
Shout out to everyone that played a ball sport where it required hand-eye coordination or foot-eye coordination.
Yeah.
Me, myself, and I didn't get any of that.
Yeah.
There was none left in the genetic pool by the time it got to me, but I could swim, and I wasn't amazing at it, but I was good enough to compete.
Sure.
And so super proud moment when, my oldest really took to it, and I got to see her race in her first competitive league this year. And, talk about watching someone put in the work every single day. And we're just talking about like a 6-week ordeal, right?
Yep.
But 5 days a week for 6 weeks. And I got to see her compete 6 times.
Yep.
And this kid, holy cow. I mean, just talk about an isolated example of put in the work, improve 1% every day. Mm-hmm. And that will compound over the course of 30 practices into something truly meaningful. And it's, for me as an observer now, like, holy cow, I can see it. Yep. But I know exactly how frustrating it was for her showing up every day. Because swimming is a grueling sport, man. Like, it's literally swim in a straight line, turn around, swim back.
Yeah.
And
swim there, swim back. Yeah.
And that's it. And, when you say it like that, God bless, it's boring. It's so boring. Yeah.
Well, especially if you're doing longer distance, like the 500 or 1,000. I mean, there's a lot of just that back and forth, right?
But once you get into it and you start doing it, you get an appreciation for it.
Yeah.
All that to say, like, I think this lesson is a constant reminder of me of why patience is so important.
Yeah.
I think another example that I've got in my life, so they're growing up in my hometown, the house that my mom and dad still live at today. Yep. There is a 35-year-old catalpa tree. Mm-hmm. It was that old when I was living there, and it's something to the tune of like 50 years old now, and it's just starting to die out. Yeah. But this thing is like 50 feet tall, and I remember that tree because it was the only one like it on the block. Mm-hmm. And about 2 years ago, my mom brought me seeds from that tree, and she said, "Hey, why don't we just plant these out back?" Yeah. And we have, and it's been just under 2 years since we planted those. And I've got about a dozen catalpa trees out in my backyard that have grown to 2 of me, 12 feet, less than 2 years. It's insane. And, I have not had to do a whole lot, but I've had to mind them. Mm-hmm. But it just, again, shows with proper preparation and maintenance, it's just another example that big things can come from very, very small things.
Can I ask you a question? This is something I grapple with a lot. We talk about patience and we talk about watering the seeds and the mustard seed, right? And one of the things I think I struggle with is sort of that line between, hey, when is what I'm doing, like the patience I'm having, when is it like foolishness versus sort of the right approach, right? Because I think patience is good, and I want to be clear about that, but I also think there's moments where you're like, is being patient the right thing? Sometimes you got to push and prod, and I don't know, I grapple with that a lot, like when it's time to be patient versus when it's time to push, and I don't always get it right. And even like with your kids, like when to be patient with them. Hey, they don't want to do something. And when you kind of I don't want to say put your foot down, but say, no, like you're going to do this, right? Like it's a challenge.
At work, we look at process optimization all the time. And a classic tool that we use is called 5Y. Mm-hmm. And, I remember one time, and I'd been using this for years, and I'd never been asked this before, which is wild because you would think this has got to be the first thing people think of when they hear 5Y.
Yep.
When do you stop asking why? And that struck me. So what I said, and I want your take on this, but what I said was when a decision will change the trajectory of the outcome to an area that you want it to land at. And I'm not trying to showboat. I'm not trying to, toot my own horn, but that was one of those moments where it was like, I need to remember that I said that because that lesson's going to slap me in the face in the future. And when you talk about like the line between patience and foolishness, it's finesse. It's always going to be finesse.
It's walking a tightrope.
It's walking a very tightrope, but I think that's also the answer. It's the move that I make, and when I know to make the move is when it will set the trajectory of the outcome where I want it to go.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think maybe to tie this all together, I think regardless of whether being patient's the right decision or maybe being a little bit, I don't want to say impatient, but a bias for action. Let's say that, right? I think regardless of those two paths, I think the takeaway still is sort of all good things start small. All good things need water. They start from seeds. And so as we watch these things develop, each situation is going to be a little bit different, but I think that's really for me, that's the takeaway of this conversation. And also, God, to bring it back to the faith component a little bit. I mean, the mustard seed is a perfect example of God's growth compounding in the sense of us giving what we have and getting back much more in return.
Let me ask you, if you didn't know better, though, if you didn't have a vision for what that mustard seed could become, would you have some doubt?
Of course.
Yeah?
Of course.
Do you think managing that doubt is a pivotal part of, marriage when it comes to balancing the work life and engaging with the world?
100%. Yeah.
So, I think so the family topic for today is really centered around marriage and a few different subpoints there. For me, it's all about that moment of cosign. And there's a few different things for my wife and I that have happened over the years. And we've been married it'll be 10 years this winter. And I remember very clearly before we were parents, we were super, super involved in every aspect of the relationship management together. And it was darn near a 50-50 split. Specifically around the finances. And she's very meticulous. She's very detail oriented, very planning. And with some things I'm that way. With finances, I never have been. And I think that's by nature of my career. Like I spend all day, every day in that world. And I get home and I don't want to deal with it. Yeah. It's like,
you're like, I look at enough, budgets and,
oh my God, like spend profiles and vendor agreements. And I don't want to shop when
like leave me alone.
I want to go get the thing that I want. I don't want to think about the money. I just want to do the thing, but I digress. And my wife's always known that about me. She knows that that's a shortfall that I have, and she'd always helped cover for it. But then she became a mom and I became a dad. And slowly but surely, over the course of a couple of years, it got to the point where like, you're the man of the house. I need to parent these kids. They need their mom right now. There will be a time when we're 50-50 again. But right now, these kids need their mom. Yep. I need you to manage the finances. Yep. I need you to be able to do this for us.
Yep.
And at first, it was terrifying because I know
of course.
How well she's done at that for so long.
Yep.
And did I have any idea what I was doing? No. Do I to this day? No.
Do any of us?
Listen, much like this podcast, I am building the plane as I'm flying.
We all are.
And that's okay. And that's okay. You know what? Do we have a roof over our head? Are the lights on? Yeah. Do we have food in the fridge? Yeah.
But that's also, and I'll let you get back to the story in a second, but I think that is also why we started this podcast. That's why, when I first had the vision for this, none of us know what we're doing. There is no manual for parenting. And no one talks about it. Everyone talks about it like, oh yeah, like you'll figure it out. And yeah, you kind of do. And there's some days you're like, wow, I did an amazing job handling that. And there are other days where you're like, wow, if you get fired as a parent, like I might get fired. Like I didn't handle that very well, whatever, right? But we can learn from each other and we can grow, and we need community so that people don't feel like they're so alone. They don't have it all figured out.
Yeah, I think there's this unrealistic expectation. I think this is more prevalent in like younger parents or first-time parents, where they think like, I can make no mistakes. I cannot admit any faults. My child is perfect. Nothing is wrong. Everything is right. We're sleeping through the night. My child eats whatever I put in front of it. And that nothing can be wrong. And that is such BS. Like, everybody's going through it. Everyone's going through the ringer. Like, there's no need to pretend.
Yeah.
Like, we're all fighting through something.
And this is a bit of an aside, but to this exact point, yesterday, I take my daughter to her first swimming lesson. Okay, she's very young. She screams, cries, will not get in the pool. In my mind, I'm thinking about all of the money I've just lit on fire because of the swimming lesson. So I'm feeling quite frustrated. I take her to gymnastics where my other daughter is and my wife, and I run into one of our mutual friends who tells me that your daughter had a swimming lesson yesterday and might have done the same thing, which made me feel so much better.
There's no might about it. So for those of you unfamiliar with the sport, backstroke is exactly what it sounds like. You're swimming on your back. I hated backstroke. I still hate it to this day. My oldest daughter loves it. I don't know where she got that from. But my youngest daughter, let's just say apple didn't fall far. And that teacher was very stern with her that she needed to go do the backstroke. And that just, my youngest is one of the reasons that the second child stereotype exists. There's a whole lot of stubborn.
Oh yeah, no,
but hey, to reel us back in.
Yes, sorry.
Reel us back in. This is a great tangent, but got to reel it.
Yeah, we got it. Yeah.
So for me, like the cosign moment when my wife handed off the financial burden to me, and I shouldn't say burden. That's not fair. What I would say is the responsibility, right? She trusted me to go and do that. And how that's evolved over the years is that it's anyone that's seen my LinkedIn can see like I've moved around quite a bit. And, my persona has always been like, I need to be an opportunist and I need to seize opportunities that are in front of me. And, right now I'm at a company that has done so much for me and has invested so much for me.
Yeah.
And I think I'm done moving around. I think I've found my spot. And it's not that my previous roles didn't. But, that trust that my wife gave me to make the right financial moves for our company and for my career led me to a role that I love doing, where I have an awesome team that works for me. I have an awesome set of peers around me. My leaders are so great. And there's such a high degree of trust infused in that it makes waking up at 5 a.m. and answering emails from one of our locations on the East Coast that's been operating for an hour and they've ran out of something. Yeah. It makes it bearable.
Yeah.
And, just to be in a place like that, like a lot of people, like I've been very fortunate throughout my career. I've worked at a lot of cool places. I'm at a really great place now. But a lot of people, they get stuck because they feel like they have to continue earning. And I feel that pressure too, right? Like, but that my wife trusted me to make these moves and find this place where I'm so happy. It's like, to give me that level of trust, like it was that same level that got me to the point where I texted you the other day and I'm like, hey man, why don't we replace this random Thursday night stuff that we do with like these mics in front of us and let's record ourselves having a beverage and talking about the same stuff we're going to talk about anyway.
Yeah.
And when I try to explain it to her and tell her what we're doing, and I send her a picture of me in front of a mic and she laughs hysterically about it. You know, it's like, yeah, she thinks I'm being silly and ridiculous, but she's also trusting me to spend the time correctly.
Yeah, 100%.
So,
well, and I think that's, candidly, I think that's, I don't want to say the challenge, but, the thing that I think about is we both have young kids. We have, wives that work, right, which is great, have their own careers and stuff. And, I think having young kids especially is really, it's really tough because your kids wake up at night, they get sick a lot. I don't want to say a lot, but you know what I'm saying? Sometimes you're just both running on empty. You've been up all night. One was up with the kids for a couple hours. One's taking the kids to school. You got a kid that's sick, staying home, trying to work. It's tough, right? And you're sort of, then taking what little, sometimes what feels like little margin that exists in your life, right? Especially evenings like what we're doing here. And trying to build something. But I think that, when you're going through this stuff, when you're making a bet, when you're trying to build something, when you're, have these ideas, right? I think that's also where the partnership really matters because, I wouldn't be here on a Thursday night sitting here with you having a drink recording this if my wife didn't have my back or wasn't on board with it. Because at the end of the day, we're a team. We've been married for 12 years. It's been awesome, but we always make decisions together, right? I want her, and sometimes she'll think of stuff and say, I don't know, are you sure about that? Or, oh yeah, that's cool, but have you thought about this? She just we just kind of buoy each other, And so just candidly, that was something I really had to think about when we started talking about doing this, because I also want to make sure that I'm a present husband, present father, and I'm not doing things at the margins that are already slim to make them sort of slimmer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I think the key in my mind, like I said, is you never sort of make a bet like this on your own.
What a great segue. Tonight's business topic. So, all right, I'm going to give a little setup, and I'm going to hand it to you before I talk about my thoughts and feelings on it. So, this year, there's been 2.9 million new business filings between January to May of 2026. That's the strongest 5-month start to any year in the U.S. ever.
And we're talking new business filings.
We're talking new business.
Okay.
Brand new business to the market, opening their doors. Whether it's a startup, a side hustle, whatever it is.
Okay.
And it's been an explosive time. Your reaction?
Well, my first reaction is I'm sure that states are loving it with all the filing fees they're getting.
Heck yeah, they are. Raking in that money.
No, but so super interesting. I think it's also probably indicative a little bit of the job market, right? People maybe having trouble finding work and deciding to kind of go off and do stuff on their own a little bit, but let's put that aside for a second. I don't know. If you look at the statistics, I think it's, and I haven't fully vetted this, but at least at one point it was 1 in every 5 businesses fail, or no, sorry, it might be 4. Is it 4 of every 5 or 1 of every 5 businesses fail within their first 5 years? There's a large number of businesses that do not make it to the 5-year mark.
If we would have known this episode was coming, you could have vetted your math beforehand, but I digress. Yes, there's a large amount of failures. Sure.
Yes. So,
I get that. And I'm not going to say that like every new business is like a sure thing. It's not.
Yeah.
And a lot of them fail. But you got to risk it for the biscuit sometimes. And from my perspective, like to hear that we're at a record high of like new business startups in a time when AI, to my point last week, is eroding so many entry-level jobs. And to your point that you just tried to quickly segue away from about the current job market and the chaos that is.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was going to help you make your argument.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate that layup. So here's the thing. Like, if someone feels passionate about something, they should always find the way to do it. Now, there's a smart way to do things and there's a dumb way to do things. You have to have a good value prop. You have to have an understanding of where my break-even line is. You have to have a revenue target. You have to understand the revenue formula.
100%. But it's pretty apparent based on the data that most people that walk into this don't have that. Like they don't have that understanding, or you'd see more successful businesses. That's my argument.
Well, yeah. Oh, and I can get that, but also sometimes you're at the mercy of the markets. You know, like we're not in the strongest economy ever. It's not the cheapest it's ever been to borrow money. It's also not the most expensive.
Sure.
It is relative to what it was 6 years ago.
But you're talking about being smart. Wouldn't the smart thing to do be to put together a business plan, do the market research, figure out if your idea, at least
you can
gut check that, because
you can do all of that, and you should. You can do all of that, and you can have every hypothetical, every situational planned out exactly perfectly, and the markets can still just crap all over your thing.
Sure. I don't disagree with that, but I also think that good ideas that have been well vetted are not failing at a 1 to 5 rate.
I would typically think that the number within 5 that is not failing, whatever that number may be. Ryan will take that as a to-do and report back next week. I would suspect that the lowest capital investments, highest value prop, conservative approaches
are winning.
And I think it's a great example of where we're at with the podcast, because something that I think was so scary about standing up a business is that for the longest time the number was $28,000. That was the number. If you want to stand up a business structurally, that's about what you need. That has shrunk exponentially thanks to our good old friend AI.
And just technology in general.
Well, yeah, you're exactly right. And, you can compress a lot of things into a subscription stack now. Now, that's not to say like an owner-operator isn't going to spend hours and hours still working on that. That's still possible. But, like for what has been a really daunting barrier to entry in prior years, clearly it's not anymore. And more people are being more daring.
For sure. But I think that the risk, when we think about the economy the way that it is, we think about the point that you made about the first rung being cut off, et cetera. I mean, there are people that are mortgaging their future, mortgaging their homes through sort of HELOC loans and stuff to get seed money to start businesses that might or might not succeed. I mean, think about, let's just take an apparel company, right? You want to start an apparel company. You think there's a gap, or you have a good brand idea, whatever.
I mean, we have a pretty solid brand.
We do.
Like but our branding is pretty sweet.
But, I think the challenge there is you're starting a company like that that's selling physical goods of some kind. I've got to order inventory, and I got to kind of predict what the market wants. And probably before I've sold that inventory, I got to place my next order, because the last thing you want if you do get good traction is out of stocks, right? You can't sell it. And now all of a sudden you're $20,000 in inventory that's sitting on a shelf, and you got to sell it to break even.
It's almost like you need a supply chain professional that is an expert in predictive analysis in market demands.
Sure. But again, to my point, a lot of these people that are starting businesses are not that.
And they're not, and they don't. And a lot of them will fail because of that. Now, I think you're right about having the right thing at the right time. And that's part of when I say like be smart about it, like that's part of what I mean too. Like you have to be situationally aware of like what's going on in the markets that I want to impact. Is there market to capture? And if you can't answer that question, then you should probably wait. And that's part of that patience thing. We talked earlier about the line between patience and foolish, and finding that line that changes the trajectory to the desired outcome. That's that, right? Like you have to understand like your market. You have to understand what you're going after. And, to draw this into, a real world example for you and I, we both have a very close friend that he did stake it all. He left a very good corporate job.
Yep.
And he went out and started a business.
Yep.
A very successful business. And he might be a guest on this podcast in the not far future. And then he didn't stop there. He opened another company. He invested in a third company. He's en route to do yet another acquisition. And this is a man that's a serial entrepreneur. And I think that what we're seeing now is a latent serial entrepreneurship out in the market. And is there going to be mass failures? Absolutely there's going to be. Is there going to be mass success? Absolutely there's going to be. And I think no matter what the volume is, you're going to see that play out year over year over year. We always have. Yeah. But fact of the matter is nothing ventured, nothing gained. That is ubiquitously true.
Scared money don't make money.
You make zero of the shots you never take.
Michael Scott. Wayne Gretzky.
Insert any metaphor you want for sitting around doing nothing gets you nothing.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. But so let's I want to pull on a thread a little bit. How would you advise someone who wanted to start a business to leverage AI to maybe do some of this market research, some of this analysis, what gaps exist in the market? Because I do think that I think when we talk about AI, this feels like a space, and keep me honest, because I think you're probably more of an expert than I am at it. A space where AI could be useful to say, hey, like maybe there's some gaps here, here's some things to think about. Is that something is that a starting spot, or do you think do you think I'm off base there? I'm curious.
I don't think you're necessarily off base. I think it's market dependent. Like, there's so many tools that can connect in to very, household name AIs like ChatGPT, like Claude, like Grok, that can make a lot of the grunt work very easy. But I think that no algorithm can yet replace the human intuition for market capitalization. And it's not, I don't think we're far from that. But I mean, it's not like we're out here saying that the, Tokyo equities market is dependent on butter output from Thailand and monitoring that. Like we're not doing that. We're determining, like, is there a gap in relationships between men between the ages of 25 to 45 talking about real life problems and real life situations in a way that's, practical for their usage? AI is not going to predict that for you.
But isn't there data out there that you can use to?
I'm sure there is. And you know what? Millions of other people have access to that data.
Yeah.
So you want to talk about the businesses that are going to fail? It's the ones that say, hey, Claude, what business should I open right now to be profitable?
Well, and honestly, that's kind of what I was getting at. I think, and maybe this is we're segueing a bit, into AI, and I know, with this, but I do think sometimes people, there is a smart way to use AI, and there is I don't know if this is the right word, a lazy way to use it. Fair?
It's an accelerator, not a generator.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like
okay.
Right now, it is only as good as the prompt or the loop that you build.
Yep.
And if the quality of your prompt or your loop are bad, the output's going to be bad.
What business should I open?
Right. So
I wonder if I just plug that in.
I bet it would say bet it would say freight brokerage. But I digress. I'd be curious. It's like, for all you listeners, go to your favorite LLM and type in what business should I open,
and comment what business you should open.
Like the answers.
Our next business we open will be
the comments,
will be the top comment.
The comments could be hilarious. I bet it's freight broker. Yeah, so like AI is such an interesting space, and we talked a lot about it last week, and I really believe that it's an accelerator, it's a magnifier, it's not a generation tool yet. And I say that because it's not going to give you something unique that it can't give 100 million other people. And until it can do that, you're not going to capture a successful business idea that 100 million other people couldn't capture. And so I really believe you have to use it to take an idea that you're passionate about, that you want to do, maybe like a podcast with a friend that maybe you're willing to just lose money on, and just know that I'm hanging out with my friend and recording it for a couple of years.
Yeah.
But if it accelerates that and makes it easier for you to do that, hell yeah, do it. You have to use it for what it's really capable at, and that is making rudimentary tasks much faster.
Yeah.
It turns, generating a script or generating an initial cut lightning fast. And all you have to do then is give notes and iterate and iterate and iterate, and then generate loops that have recursive learning that can take in your concepts and weave them into first drafts so that you're spending less time giving notes and more time just doing. Like, I think one of the best things that we've done, and I spent, a lot of late nights and weekends building our script generator inside of Claude. But I mean, these first 2 episodes, we've gone through 4 or 5 iterations of the scripts, right? And we've had to give it a lot of notes, but I mean, you tell me, I feel like it's, at least the tone is enhancing, and what it's providing to us is pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And so maybe to tie this kind of back together, I know we kind of pick corners by design, and I think sometimes there'll be times that we actually are in those corners, and I think there's times that maybe we aren't, right? And we actually kind of believe a little bit differently than the corners that we pick, because it's fun. It's fun to sort of, take a side and try to argue it, right? So where do you really fall? I mean, where do you really fall here? When you think about starting a business, right? Well, give me your real unvarnished kind of assessment.
So I have started a business before, years ago, and it failed. It was financially very painful. And it's not something that I would do again lightly. And that is a lesson I had to learn the hard way. And I'm very thankful for where I'm at today, professionally and financially. It's a scary thing. And I think what a lot of people, when they get into it, they don't understand the stress. They think they do, they know it'll be stressful, but when that weight starts bearing down on them and the financial pressure starts bearing down on them, especially when things don't go well, it is a different level. So would I tell people to go and chase a dream and start a business? Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Would I also tell them that you are going to go to really dark places sometimes, and it's going to be really scary?
Especially if you got a lot of money on the line.
Yeah. And that's why I love this so much, because we don't. Yeah. This is me hanging out with my friend, which I'd be doing anyway. We just happen to put microphones and cameras.
It is hot in this garage, though.
It is hot in this garage. And I got to tell you, man, I've been sitting here for 45 minutes trying not to bring it up, but it's 95 degrees outside, brother. It's July. What are you doing in a hoodie?
Well, I like this hoodie, and I want Unreal to sponsor us. So I decided to wear it. Product placement, man. Brand awareness, product placement.
Hey, guess what? I want Built to sponsor us too, and this shirt was very comfortable in the heat.
Yeah, it is hot though. I don't know if I'll do this again, but
I'd advise against it.
I just want Unreal to know that I suffered for them.
Unreal Clothing.
For their brand.
Yeah, we will suffer for your brand. Just know that.
No, but I agree with you, and I think, I know I was arguing about the kind of the more conservative or sort of pessimistic approach to starting a business, but I'm a big believer in the American dream. I think, but I think to tie back a little bit to the conversation around sort of marriage and the cosign and things, I think, it's good to dream. It's good to chase your dreams. You're not going to make any money sitting on the couch, twiddling your thumbs or having money that you're not putting to work.
Doom scrolling Instagram.
Exactly. But I also think conversely, we all, husbands or wives, whatever, we all have the responsibility to be good stewards of our family's financial resources and not put ourselves in bad situations. And so there's a bit of a balancing act. But I mean, look, I think if you've got a dream and you want to chase it, you should. And to your point, I think you just have to do it really eyes wide open. And I also think that you need to do it with, in partnership with your family. And this kind of brings me to maybe my closing question for you. When we talk about the dreams you have, the dreams I have, right? Do you think your wife knows sort of the dreams that you have? And do you also think she understands the risk, right? Like, where do you think she falls?
Yeah,
there?
I do. I'm so blessed. My wife, it's cliche to say, but I outkicked my coverage. You
both did.
She comes from a family that is 6 generations in to a family-owned business. And everyone in her family is hyper entrepreneurial. It's something that we talk about all the time. And, she's not as involved in the day-to-day of the finances anymore, the transactional stuff. Yeah. But you talk about like our strategy as a family, like not only financially, or for me professionally, but for like us as a family, like where do we want our family to be in a year, in 3 years, in 5 years, in 10 years? We talk about that all the time. And is she always excited to talk about it? No. But does she understand it? Yes. Is she like an active partner in the development of that dream? Yes. And I'm so lucky to have a wife like that. And it's so paramount. And I think, all that to say, like, I'm very lucky to have someone that's willing to do that with me. Mm-hmm. It also takes maintenance. It also takes a grind. Like, that didn't just happen. Like, it compounded over a decade where we force each other to talk to each other. And it's painful sometimes. And we get in knockdown dragouts because of it. But our communication is at such a good level. Like, I know I can tell her anything and she's going to get it. And she knows me and she understands me and she knows my thought process. Yeah. So that's a very long road to a short thought. Short story long, as the kids say. I can't keep up with the kids thing, right? Please don't force me to. I will. So funny story about this. So my boss, great dude, awesome dude, gives me a real hard time at work. There's a pretty big gap in age between him and some of his other employees, and so he catches some of like the new terminology. Yeah, and he'll throw it at me sometimes. I'm like, "What are you talking about?"
No cap.
I don't even think that's a thing anymore. I don't think that's one anymore.
They moved on to something else.
I don't know. Something about like flow maxing or like physique maxing. I don't know. It's
like aura maxing.
Yeah.
Like these new microphones are aura maxing.
Yeah.
Like they look good.
They do look good. Yeah. But they're not new. We had these last week too.
I know.
We weren't chumps last week.
Yeah.
No. What about you?
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, no, I mean, I definitely think, I definitely feel the same, like feel very much the same way. I think to your point, it takes work, right? It takes, conversation. It's one of these things, going back to sort of what we talked about. You don't take these bets. You don't do this stuff on your own. You can't. I mean, it just doesn't work. Right. And so I think that's also where, just as you have to, when we talk about starting a business, you need to be the business owner sort of, or the person that's starting it needs to be clear-eyed. But I think it's important that, the entire sort of anyone who's going to be a part of that also understands both the dream, like here's what's possible, and the risk. Now, I think this was a pretty easy sell because, to your point, there's not really a lot of risk. It's not like we've got, thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars tied up and all that. I mean, a lot of this is like we're hanging out on a Thursday night, having a drink. I had all this equipment already, and here we are, right? But even so, it's there's still a commitment of time. There's still a commitment of Thursday nights. I mean, she's home here, probably inside, having a glass of wine, watching McBee Dynasty, and I'm out here talking to you, which is great, but like, that's time she's giving up, right, with me.
Do you want to know what my wife is doing right now?
Sleeping?
Absolutely. Her favorite thing to do, and I give her so much crap about this. So she'll do her whole nighttime routine, right? And then she'll get in bed and she'll turn on she'll turn on the TV, get to the Netflix home screen, and then she'll just pass out.
You're gonna go home and just turn the TV off.
Yep, it's just but 10 out of 10 times it's just the Netflix home screen.
That's hilarious.
Oh man, and it's been that way for like 8 years.
That's hilarious. Well, it's been a great episode, great conversation. Again, I think just to kind of reiterate what I talked about last week to kind of close it out. We want to build this community, right? We talked about the mustard seed tonight. It starts small, but we have big dreams for it, right? And this is showing up every Thursday, recording this is a great way to do that. Another way that our followers or listeners can help us to sort of also water and grow this mustard seed is by following us on social media.
Literally any social media at DadTails.
TAILS.
DADTAILS.
Yep. Follow us there. Subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. We're on every platform, right? And be a part of this community. Engage with us. We want to hear from you. We want you to be involved, and we want to build something and grow that mustard seed, together. So, next week we're going to be talking about, if you've ever been up late, you've ever been doing kind of the daycare math in your head late at night, trying to figure out or talking to yourself, wow, this is a lot. You're not going to want to miss next week. So tune in for episode 3 next week, and have a great week, everyone. Keep dad.
Did you just say keep dad?
Daddy.
Bro, we got to work on that. That's a blooper reel right there.
Either way.